Hi, everyone. Welcome to Baking and Boozing. I am your chef and host for today. I am super excited about our fall spice palette, and I'm even more excited about one of my really good friends joining me for today's filming. I'd love to introduce you to my great friend, Hadley. Hi, Hadley.
Hi.
How's it going today?
Oh gosh, pretty good. Just doing the mom thing and hanging out with my little boy.
Well, I super appreciate you making time to do both baking and boozing with me today while Ian's on dad duty so that we could spend some time together. And I'm so appreciative.
Happy to do it. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this for months.
That makes me super happy. I want to give everyone a little bit of a rundown about how we know each other and why it is so important for me to have you on this show. We met while we were working together at a restaurant. We became good friends. It was surprising because, I was the only female in the back working with all the Lost Boys. And you and Corinne took me into your friend group. But then, Hadley, you and we became roommates. I had a spare space in the place that I was living. It doesn't even qualify as a room, I don't even think,
I
but
don't think it had a door.
it was our early 20s. We worked together, we lived together, we partied together, and we shared a lot of crazy dating stories. In fact, we were both living together when we met the men that we were both currently, well, I'm dating and you are now married to.
Yep. Dating is hard. And I think, especially in New Orleans, it's another level of difficult because there are just so many special individuals out there.
That is such a diplomatic way of saying. But it brought us all closer. You got to meet my man Candy, I got to meet yours, and then fast forward how many years? I think it was 4 years after you and Ian started dating, you got married.
Yep.
I was so honored that you asked me to make your wedding cake, which, oh my gosh, but I was so impressed with you because you were just like, I want it simple, I want it to taste good, and I don't want any frills. And I was like, oh, well, that's easy enough. And you asked for pistachio,
Mhm.
which I mean is an incredible flavor. It's just not something you normally hear for weddings.
Well, it was so delicious. And my sister was just visiting, and
Mhm.
somehow the cake came up, and she's like, Mom will not stop talking about it. Here, over 2 years later, my mom is still talking about how much she loved that cake. And it was exactly what I wanted. I mean, we had such a simple backyard wedding, and the cake was just perfect. I would rather have a unique flavor and simple decorations than this huge, frilly cake that has no taste.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me do that for you. That was, I mean, and now you have beautiful baby Lachlan, and I mean, over the moon. So it's just nice that, we got to see each other come full circle here.
I know, it's crazy. Whoever would have thought?
Well, now here you are doing me a favor. So, Hadley, let's kick it off with talking about your baking skills. I've been asking everyone to rate themselves on a scale of 0 to 10. Where would you say your baking skills are?
I would say probably somewhere in the middle. I'm somebody that probably the first time I make anything, it's not great.
Okay.
But by like that 15th time I'm making something, I know what I can tweak to get it to like what I like
Right.
personally. There's a range between where I start and when I like get the recipe where I want it.
Well, I'm really excited about this because this is the first time either one of us is making this recipe. For the record, today we are going to make a cookie butter streusel bar. So, cookie butter being the knockoff of Biscoff. I over prepared and got both cookie butter and Biscoff. So, we can use whichever one we want. I made an assumption yesterday and said, yeah, Hadley, make sure that you get cookie butter. And you texted me and said, so is cookie butter the same as real butter? Which I understand that confusion because you use real butter in cookies. So for you to say that, I was just like, yeah, no, that is definitely something that I should make sure to explain to people that cookie butter is just the generic form of Biscoff spread.
So as soon as you told me that's what it was, I was like, oh, I think I have had that before. I
Okay.
definitely have had the cookie itself.
The spread is just like the ground up cookie. But yeah, it's got a really nice spice blend that features cinnamon, which I feel pairs really, really well with apple, which is why our cocktail will be apple. I'm excited. I think this spice palette is going to be incredible for us today. So you are ahead of the game. You have scaled out all of your ingredients. So let's go ahead and mix our streusel. All right, first things first, we both have our ovens preheating to 350. We're gonna mix the topping. That way, by the time all of our ingredients for the bar are put together in our pan, this will be prepared and we can just put it directly on top. For our streusel, what you'll need to do is mix together all of your dry ingredients, which is 45 grams of full rolled old-fashioned oats. Make sure it's old-fashioned and not the quick oats. There is a difference in the way that they bake. So old-fashioned oats, you're gonna want 50 grams of brown sugar, 25 grams of regular sugar, which I call sucrose in all of my recipes, just so nobody gets confused. And then I confuse everybody because they don't know what sucrose is. I should work on that. And then also we're gonna have 16 grams of all-purpose flour and 5 grams of cinnamon. So that is all in my bowl right here. I'm going to grab a small spatula and just mix all of it together so that it is uniform and even. And then once all of my seasonings are mixed in, I'm going to just kind of mash in my 57 grams of softened butter.
All right, I think I've got all the dry ingredients
Okay.
mixed pretty well.
Fantastic. I think mine's pretty mixed. So I'm going to measure my butter directly in because I did not scale that out. And I wore this top because I like it. I think it's pretty, but it is impractical for baking. I feel like I'm about to take off with the bat wings. And I'm very particular about having sleeves on my forearms when I'm eating or when I'm cooking. And I know this about myself, but I still chose to wear this top. And okay. 57 grams of butter going into our streusel topping.
I'm also just like the biggest disaster in the kitchen. Like everything I cook, like uses every pot, pan, bowl, spoon that we own. And then I just get stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I think I chose poorly as far as my bowl size goes. I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping my stuff in the bowl as I mix.
Well, we were on the same page. So I've got a lot of sugar and oats all over my countertop right now.
I'm gonna switch to my hands as far as mixing this goes, just because honestly it's cleaner for my countertop if I just squish my butter and oats together. Yeah, I'm just throwing it everywhere. Don't mind me. Hadley, I forgot to ask you while we're mixing our streusel, what is your favorite dessert or pastry to eat?
Not a huge dessert person. Like special occasions will do dessert. Recently, I made tiramisu a couple times.
Ooh.
And that is like surprisingly easy to make. You know, if you're buying the lady fingers at the store.
Yes.
And not trying to make those on your own. So I've done that. A good muffin for me is hard to beat, you know. I obviously, you know, macarons, which I like had a huge craving for while I was pregnant. Like not getting enough of them is just really nice, you know, just a little small something you can pop in your mouth, you know, and it gets that sweet tooth satisfied. So
your husband did contact me about your macaron craving. I hope we fixed it for you.
Yes, that craving would not turn off.
I believe we did pistachio for you on that as well, right?
Yeah, pistachio and then
coffee.
Yeah. Gosh, we've done a whole bunch. Oh, peppermint. I love anything peppermint. I loved every single one of them.
Okay, how is your streusel looking?
It's a little lumpy, but I guess I can sprinkle it.
That's what mine looks like. I think we're doing fine and it will bake up nicely. Okay, so what we need to do is whisk together our melted and cooled butter. That is 114 grams, so 1 stick. We need to add in 1 egg, which has been at room temperature, our brown sugar, vanilla, and cinnamon. And we're going to use our whisk attachment and we are going to beat all of that together until smooth. So I'm going to scale all of this out. Melted and cooled butter, which I'm going to save this measuring cup and use it to melt the cookie butter for drizzling later. If I don't have a piping bag to drizzle with, I like to pour it from something that has a spout, like a mixing bowl. So butter, 1 egg, brown sugar, which is going to be 200 grams.
Is there a reason for melting and cooling the butter versus using just like room temp butter?
For cookies, sometimes they call for melted butter and sometimes they don't. And that usually has to do with if you want them to expand. So melted butter cookies, you want it to expand. However, what we're making today is going to be in an 8x8 pan. So expansion isn't really going to be the key here. But as I checked the recipe earlier, we don't have any sort of, how would you call it, like a leavener. So there's no baking soda, baking powder, or anything like that. So I think that having a melted butter in this recipe is going to allow it to rise better without the assist from a leavener.
Interesting.
Where were we? 10 grams of vanilla extract and 5 grams of cinnamon, and then my 1 egg. Okay, yes, you're on the ball. Pop it on with your whisk attachment. And I would start on low. I think we're really just mixing to incorporate, and then we are going to add in our cookie butter and flour. It seems like such a small amount.
The pan?
What's in the mixer right now? It just seems small to me. How does yours look? Mine is a little lighter in color, which is good. That means it's well incorporated and it's got pretty good consistency.
Okay.
How's yours?
I don't know if you can. I think
Yeah,
it's looking pretty good.
that does look good. We're going to fold in our cookie butter. So folding again is done with a spatula. So go ahead and clean off your whisk attachment and set that aside. So we're going to use 85 grams of cookie butter. I just want to eat it, Hadley.
Oh, I know. It's so delicious.
You can't even see that. Oh well. I've been taking a few different cake decorating classes.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess not just cake, but like candies, chocolate candies, and like small cake decorating and whatnot. And I feel so bad for the instructors every time because they're like, oh yeah, let me try to just hold this up and pipe it at the same time, or hold it up and mix it. And now here I am trying to do it exactly the same. Like, can you see this? I'm gonna spill it everywhere, but I just want to make sure you see.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for them. We're about to incorporate our flour, and that is something that we really want to make sure is mixed in well. So I'm going to go ahead and dump mine in, and I have pre-measured this out. So this is my all-purpose flour, and it is 40 grams. And I forgot to say as well, a pinch of salt, which literally to me, if I just put a little bit of salt in the palm of my hand and pinch it, that's what I would use. So a pinch of salt is seen in many recipes, but you never really know how much it is. And I'm just going to fold to incorporate. Perfect. I feel like this is kind of like a brownie or like a blondie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was kind of wondering what texture
I think, yeah.
it's going to be. That makes a lot of sense to me now.
I think so. This smells so good. And then we'll put the streusel on top. So it will be a little bit different than your typical brownie or blondie, but I still think it'll be amazing. Oh, I mean, I wish I could also bottle the smell and put it on my YouTube channels. You can smell as we're making this, because it's not even in the oven yet and it smells amazing. And then of course, while we were mixing, I went ahead and lined my pan with some parchment paper. Hadley, I think you used foil, is that correct?
I did, and then I greased it too.
Perfect. So with the foil being metallic and whatnot, there is always the concern that it would stick to it. So greasing it, if you're using foil, is good. I like to use foil for things if I want them to have like a crisp bottom. So I think you might get a little bit of that crispness, which I think is going to be great. I will not, since I'm using parchment, but I'm really interested to see the difference between the two pastries, how they come out. So fantastic. So now that our pans are lined, and I'm assuming, are you all incorporated as far as your flour goes as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll just pour it out and then just kind of smooth it into your pan. Mine has mostly smoothed out. And if you're concerned about the smoothness, you can always tap it on your countertop. And then I'm going to take my streusel and just kind of sprinkle it on top. Does yours look pretty similar-ish? Gorgeous. Okay, let's put these guys in. We'll put 30 minutes on the clock and then we'll do a reset. I am so excited about this cinnamon apple smash cocktail, whatever it is that we're making. It's going to be delicious. But before we start slicing our apple and getting all of the ingredients together, I want to talk to you about your drink mixing skills. Okay, so you were a barista, you know how to juice, and then you also did work for a coffee roaster. Is that correct?
Yep. I have bartended in the past too.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you this question, knowing all of that information about you, but we'll still ask anyway. On a scale of 0 to 10, where would you rank your bartending skills?
Maybe at about a 2.
What?
So I've bartended here.
I thought this was going at all.
No, I've bartended here and there over the years, and I hate it. It's not my thing. I enjoy drinking. I love a good cocktail, a good glass of wine. Having to know all of, about all these liquors and this and that takes the fun out of it for me. So I just want somebody to make me a nice drink and I'll sit there and sip it.
Well, let's talk about this drink. We're calling it a cinnamon apple cocktail. It is comprised of apple cider, whiskey, a cinnamon simple syrup that we created, and I'll talk about that, apple slices, and lemon juice. There's also the option to put mint leaf in. I don't love mint very much, so I'm not going to put it in. If you want to muddle that with your apple slices, I feel like that'll really bring in a fresh flavor, and that's great. So you decide if you want to do that or not. But I do have a few notes about this cocktail before we get started. First things first is we both, before we got on camera, made our own cinnamon simple syrup. Simple syrup is probably one of the easiest things to make. I just never remember to do it in advance. So I always end up boiling my sugar and water together and then having a pot of hot syrup sitting on the stove while the rest of my cocktail is sitting there waiting. So if you can always have your simple syrup made in advance, that is the best course of action. This one was actually cinnamon infused. So we had 3 cinnamon sticks that we put in the boiling sugar and water, along with 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And that made this super delicious syrup, which smells like a dream. So this is going to go into our cocktail along with some apple cider. So when I first started looking into really good flavor combinations for the stuff that we have in the oven currently, and knowing what our flavors that we both like, I was really interested in figuring out how to incorporate apple into our profile. And so when I came across this one that called for apple cider, I'm like, well, what's the difference between apple cider and apple juice? I didn't know. I did not grow up drinking cider. I don't know, Hallie, have you had lots of experience between cider and apple juice?
Just alcoholic cider, I guess. What I bought for the cocktail.
Okay, well, that could be very interesting. I'm actually really excited to hear about that. But in my research, what I learned is that the difference between apple juice and apple cider is just the filtration process. So it's basically the difference between orange juice with pulp and orange juice without pulp. I would say cider doesn't really have pulp, but it doesn't go through quite the same filtration that apple juice does. So apple cider would just have a few more of those particles in it as opposed to apple juice. What on earth did you buy? I need to know what you were mixing with today.
So this is a local cider company that's just down the road from our house. These guys are super nice. It's 6% alcohol and low on sugar. So this cocktail might be a kick in the pants for me.
I feel like you are going to have a whole other experience than what I'm experiencing, but I don't think it's going to be a problem, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Well, to get this alcoholic experience started, what we need to do is slice 3 apple slices, and if you want to use mint, throw your mint into your cocktail shaker. Just mash up some apple and some mint if you would like, and then we're going to pour all of our liquids on top. We're going to put some ice in and shake it around so that all the flavors incorporate and then also cool off, and then we will just pour it into our coupe. I'm going to use a wine glass. I don't know if you can see it, but it has Rebellion Baking.
Oh.
My lovely mother etched these for me for
Oh,
Christmas last year. So I have a whole set. So thank you,
yay.
Mom. um, so I'm gonna cool off my glass, and what I'm gonna do is just fill this with ice and then fill it with water and just let it sit in the glass while we prepare the drink. I feel like this is probably a little bit big, but who cares? I think it's fine. And the other bit of wisdom that I would like to share is for my chopping board. I have a wooden chopping board. It is old and it's kind of beveled. So when I try to cut, it does slide around on my countertop. So what I always do, is grab a kitchen towel and just fold it in half. And then I set my chopping board on top, and then I never have to chase my chopping board around. So I'm going to set my station up with that, and I'm going to start by slicing 3 slices out of my apple. Well, while you're standing there, I want to ask you, what is your favorite spirit?
Probably tequila. Nothing beats a margarita, and throw mezcal into that too, because that can really give a whole new flavor to like some of your favorite standby cocktails, like a
Mhm.
mezcal Negroni or mezcal margarita can just really give you something a little bit different, but not go outside of what you like.
When I first was toying with the idea of doing baking and boozing, I don't know if you remember this, but I sent you and Corinne
Mhm.
my like show flow, just like, okay, this is what I think we're gonna do. This is who I think I'm gonna ask and what flavors I'm gonna ask them to do and all of that. I don't know if you remember that. But I had originally scheduled you to do a Negroni.
Oh, okay.
But then I couldn't reconcile myself with a Negroni because I think it's the vermouth that I can't do. It can do if it's in very small amounts. And I've gotten to the point where I'll ask my bartenders, like, how much,
Right.
how powerful is that flavor in this particular cocktail? And I'll tolerate it if it's in there and it's not overpowering.
I think because Ian has really gotten into vermouths and kind of experimenting with those. I think, sort of depending on the bar you're going to, their vermouth, one, may not be that great. And two, it's a fortified wine. So it needs to be treated like you would a bottle of wine. So it really, once you open it, needs to be chilled and finished off ideally in a week.
I
Um,
had no idea. That makes so much sense.
well,
You teaching everybody something today. I love
but
this.
it does make a lot of sense because wine, you're not going to drink an open bottle after
No.
however long. I mean, it can be a game changer. So you might want to do a little experimenting at like a martini bar, because if they're making a ton of martinis, they're flowing through the vermouth. So you can count on that being fresh.
You were brilliant. I feel like you just opened up a whole door to vermouth for me.
It's a game changer.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Are we ready to show these apples who's boss?
I think so.
Okay. I did some thick slices, yeah. And then I cut mine into pieces because I just don't want to have to put that much effort into it.
Oh, fair enough.
If you're going to do some mint leaves, go ahead and throw those in. Grab your muddler and just smash it up. I feel like maybe older apples are the way to go for these.
Yeah, and I think cutting the smaller pieces was also the way to go.
Clutch. It's not too late, Hadley. You can take yours out and cut them if you want.
All right. Well,
Hey, who knew we were going to get an arm workout in today, too?
I know, right?
I think mine smashed as much as I'm going to gracefully get. So we're going to add 2 ounces of whiskey. I have Sonoma Distilling Company whiskey.
And I have got Old Overholt, which is actually a rye. So that might
Ooh.
be another little twist on it, but I think it should be good. Who knows? This might be the wrong call, but
Hey, we tried something
we're
new.
boozy.
This simple syrup, again, is something that we made in advance and cooled off. So 1 ounce of it, followed by 1 ounce of your apple cider. And last but not least, it says a splash of lemon juice, which, just like that pinch of salt, it's going to be up to you how you do that. Oh, this, I don't know how you're going to survive that, because this is already quite a drink. I'm going to throw some ice in here, shake it up, and then we'll pour it out. All right. That's a pretty color.
Ooh.
You see that? I'm gonna cut myself a little slice of apple to garnish with as well.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
Ooh,
Oh,
that is delicious.
okay. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's, I mean, whiskey really hits me. And I feel like this will make the whiskey just sneak up on me because it's so smooth and it's really,
Mhm.
it's surprisingly refreshing without the mint. Like I thought that it would be a little more like muted with heavy, like the heavier spice flavors, but this is actually really refreshing.
I don't think I would want to throw mint into that. Mint to me is like a summer drink, and I want this to be very much fall. And I feel
Mhm.
like I got that. So
How do you feel that you did with your two bartending?
this is one I could do again very easily. I think for me, the hard part with bartending is, because this was what, 2 ounces and then 1 and 1. So that's easy for me to remember. But once you start getting into like out there ingredients and then small amounts and this and that, and you deviate from a very basic recipe, that's where I'm just like, if it's not written down, I can't do it,
Yeah. That was always the challenge for me is that
Yeah.
because I am a chef, like I'm a pastry chef, and so I always go according to the recipe and I
Mhm.
am very meticulous about measuring things out. So being behind the bar with people being face to face with me, talking to me while I'm trying to remember what the recipe was, I don't think I was the friendliest bartender. And I'm generally a pretty friendly person, but in that circumstance, I was so focused on what I was doing that I don't feel that I had the skill set that was required for both making the drink and being client facing, if that makes sense. Okay, both of our alarms just went off. Let's check our baking
I don't know. It's still a little liquidy. Is that how it should be?
a little bit. I'm gonna leave mine in real quick and I just wanna read through my recipe. Again, knowing your ingredients is super important for knowing when to pull it out. So
I think all my
with,
crumble sank too.
did it sink?
I think so.
No.
You know what? Mine might be a disaster because I'm at altitude and maybe didn't put enough flour in there.
I didn't even think of that.
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
You know
didn't.
what? Even if your crumble is in your blondie or
Yeah.
your whatever we're calling these, even if it's
Uh-huh.
still gonna taste amazing. I should really do some research on altitude baking because I didn't even think of that and I don't know how to advise people. I'm glad you said extra flour because
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't know. Oh, I don't know if we put enough flour. Now that I'm looking at my math,
did your crumble sink?
yeah, I mean, I can still see it on top, but it's
Oh,
not like all
mine's
throughout.
gone.
I think, yeah, a cup of flour is 120 grams.
Uh-huh.
And I divided it by 4, which is 30 grams.
Uh-huh.
And I told us to do 40 grams. Why did I do 40 grams? Yeah, we should have done triple that. So 90 grams.
Oh no.
So we did less than the amount of flour. Again, Hadley, like I said, I was not prepared for this one and I did my math while
Okay.
I was working. So we'll see how it comes out. I'm gonna put mine on a timer for another maybe 10 minutes.
I'll just go by yours. I mean, I think it might just be like really gooey, more toffee than brownie.
Yeah.
But that could be good. So
I think it'll be
we'll go
fine.
with it.
It'll still taste really good. In the meantime, should we go ahead and melt our Biscoff or at least measure it out? It's gonna be 2 tablespoons. I don't feel like we really need to measure, but that's probably about 1 tablespoon. Oh my God, this is what I get for doing my job and my side job at the same time. Don't tell anybody.
It's all right. I think it's still going to be good.
I think it'll be fine. Okay, I'm gonna pop this in the microwave for about 30 seconds. So yeah, this will set up for just a little bit. Cookie butter, so good. So I'm gonna go ahead and take mine out too. I think the edges look pretty crisp. And mine, it's a little more set.
We'll see how mine turns out. I feel like mine is gonna definitely solidify a little bit more once it starts
This,
cooling.
yeah. I'm gonna take this out of the pan with my parchment paper, and I'm gonna throw it onto my chopping board.
Oh,
I'm gonna-
see, yours looks a lot better than mine.
Again, I think it does look good though. I mean, smell it. Doesn't that smell amazing? I think yours is probably a combination of my mistake plus the altitude thing that I did not prepare for you.
Yeah, and I should have thought about that, but
It's okay. I have my melted cookie butter in a measuring cup with a spout, so I can just pour it. I'm gonna just do zigzag lines back and forth across. How does yours look?
not great.
No. What issues are you having?
Well, I think my drizzling could be improved, and then I don't know, it's stuck a little to the foil, and
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's okay. We can cut the edges if you want.
oh, that looks good. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, do you have your spoon?
Yep.
All right. So we will do our tasting. We're going to take a bite of this, and then we're going to see how it pairs with our cocktail. Okay. All right. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Mm-hmm. With cinnamon.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Oh man, do this with just like a little scoop of ice cream on top, and this is the cocktail.
Uh-huh.
I think we have a winning combination.
This is very fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like the perfect, it's getting crisp and cold outside. Let's
Yeah.
make a snack and a cocktail. This should be it.
Mm-hmm. I say it's
Yeah.
a success.
As successful as my mistake allowed us to be, yes, it is a success.
Yours turned out. I'm at a huge disadvantage being high altitude.
I feel bad that yours didn't come out well.
Don't worry about it. I had so much fun. So,
well, thank you so much for joining me today. Mine turned out well. You had a little bit of issue with the altitude situation, so we definitely want to look into that to see what kind of remedies we could do for next time. It still tastes delicious. I'm glad that you were able to taste yours. Our cocktails for sure turned out wonderfully.
The recipe was super easy. Flavors are delicious. I'm now obsessed with cookie butter. Didn't know what it was going in. And yeah, now I want to use it on everything. And this is something I would definitely try again, make it work for being at almost 7,000 feet. So
I just can't fathom it. And also, I don't know how I made your wedding cake.
Yeah, because it turned out great. So
yeah,
I don't know. And yeah, I'm going to give these another go.
I'm so thrilled. Well, thank you so much for having such an open mind.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for today's episode. Again, Hadley, thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, this has been Baking and Boozing. Have a great evening.